Okay, so what we're starting to do is a quick and dirty for the Series 24, because my name's Ken Finnan, and I'm from Capital Advantage Tutoring, and it's my job to get you past the Series 24 and all the FINRA exams. We're going to get going right now. This is going to be a two-parter because it's really freaking long, but let's see how we do. Maybe I'll get it into a one part. I don't know. Let's find out. Let's get into it. So if you're going to take the 24 in the next couple of days or so, this is definitely the video you want to watch, because if you're taking the 24 and you're like, ooh, I want some easy points here, these are going to be some pointers that are going to absolutely help you. I'm going to try not to race through it, but I don't want to spend a lot of time. And I'm hoping it is a quick and dirty and not a quick and 2-hour freaking video. But we're going to see what happens. So let's start off with this. The Form U4 requires a 10-year employment and bankruptcy history and a 5-year residential history. So that means that they're going to look back at your 10-year employment and back your 5-year residence, and they're going to see, have you had bankruptcy in the last 10 years? That's all disclosable. It's not going to nail you out, but you do have to disclose if you had a bankruptcy or a tax lien or anything like that in the last 10 years. Simply being indicted or charged with a crime does not automatically cause statutory disqualification. Conviction matters, not just charges. You do not need to amend your U4 for a change in marital status. These are going to be a little out of order, but they're just things to remember. A felony DWI conviction is grounds for statutory disqualification. So if there was a felony that wasn't disclosed from 7 years ago and you just found out about it, you can investigate, suspend, and then possibly statutory disqualification and update the U4, U5 within 10 days. Remember, the U4 requires disclosures of all felony convictions and securities and taking of money and bribery misdemeanors, no matter how long ago it happened, but you'll only be in convictions and charges, and you'll only be disqualified if it happened in the last 10 years. Getting a real estate license counts as an outside business activity. It must be disclosed on the U4. If an RR already has a real estate license and didn't disclose it, the Form U4 must be updated within 30 days. The firm could discipline and supervise more heavily, fine, or even fire the RR over it. When you leave, the Form U5 must be filed within 30 days of a registered rep's term, sent to both FINRA and the ex-employee. So you have to file a U4 U5 within 30 days of them leaving and sent to both FINRA and the ex-employee. I mean, the U5 is filed on CRD anyway, so it doesn't matter. A new employer must get the U5 either from FINRA or the new employee, not from the old employer. Remember that. It's really, they just get permission and they do it on the CRD system. If the new firm asks for it, the new employee must deliver the U5 within 2 business days. Again, that's not really a thing anymore because it's all on CRD. They just get permission to access it. When a broker-dealers or associated persons are disciplined, the regulator files a Form U6. They also file it to report final arbitration awards. This is boring shit, I know it. If a registered rep is suspended, the FINRA must be notified within 30 days, or if a fine is more than $2,500. If you leave your firm, they have to disclose like the reason. Like they can say voluntary, then we're good. But it's like, they allow release from their contract or other. That's usually other, or permitted to resign or investigation, something like that. Most of you have to, if you 5 someone, there has to be some sort of reason. Voluntary just means they left on their own, and that usually ends there. But if it's anything other than that, FINRA will reach out and ask for more information. Customer records and complaints have to be kept at the Office of Supervisory Jurisdiction, otherwise known as OSJ. Every registered rep and principal must attend an annual compliance meeting, no exceptions. If FINRA requires a firm to record calls, the firm must have procedures and equipment ready within 60 days of the notification. Usually it's around 20%. So if more than 20% of your employees or reps are from disciplined firms, you're going to probably, it's 20%, but they're not going to go into the numbers. You will have to start recording within 60 days when FINRA tells you. You can avoid that within 30 days of firing enough to put you under the threshold. You cannot hire more reps to get under that threshold. So if you have 100 reps and 20 of them are from disciplined firms, and you're told to you have to start recording, you can either fire some of them to get under or start recording. That's it. You can't hire more to make it look better. If FINRA allows a firm to sponsor someone with the SD, statutory disqualification, the firm must set up heightened supervision for that individual. If a RR moves from one firm to another, the firm has 60 days to review the application and all that. Form U4, U5, U6, broker check. Okay. Heightened supervision plans must be written and signed by the RR, supervised by a principal, and customized to what's going on at hand. Like if they violated the do not call list, you have to make sure it addresses the do not call list. If a firm drug tests an RR and the RR fails, it's not reportable to FINRA and not a statutory disqualification. That's a private matter between the firm and the employee. So if you fail a drug test, it's not reportable to FINRA. You can fire you, but it's not the reason for it. Fingerprinting is required to check for criminal history records. Firms must keep fingerprint records for 3 years after an RR leaves. All cashiering and vault employees must be fingerprinting the touch and the cash. They got to be fingerprinted. Some of them are called NRFs, non-registered fingerprinted. Foreign nationals or foreign residents hired by U.S. brokerage firms must meet the same fingerprint rules as U.S. reps, as U.S. citizens. If a foreign national is hired as a CEO of a broker-dealer and has no customer contact, no sales duties, and no access to books and records, they still get added to Form BD because they're an officer, a partner, officer, and fingerprinted. That's wildly specific. I wonder why Ken put it on there. They can be registered via page 2 of Form U4 without having to take an exam. So they're not really registered. They're put on the firm. I shouldn't have said registered, but they're on the firm as a officer, and they'll be on the page 2. I think it's Table A, whatever the fuck it is, Schedule A, and that lists all the officers and directors and stuff. An RR who sells variable annuities for a fee does not have to register as an advisor unless you're taking ongoing fees. So if you sell it for one fee, you don't have to be an IAR. To offer wrap accounts, an RR with a 7 must also have a Series 65 or a 66 and be registered with an IA. Form U5 must be retained for 3 years after the RR leaves the firm. You're going to see repeat shit because I have a list and I'm just making sure. Again, if an RR is fired and joins a new firm, the new firm must review the RR's Form U5 within 60 days. Again, some of the stuff you're going to hear twice because it's so twice I said it. It's so nice I said it twice. A firm has a continuing obligation to amend a Form U5. There's no time limit on making corrections. So the point is, if one of your reps leaves and then you find out he did something while working for you, you will have to update the U5 within 30 days. Form U6 is used by regulators and SROs to report disciplinary actions against broker-dealers and associated persons, including issues from the Code of Procedure and Arbitration. RRs can update their broker check information by submitting a broker comment request form. So like if you see something, like say somebody has a complaint, you're allowed to make a comment on to report it back. So if I say, oh, Ken Finn was a jackass, blah, 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 I'm allowed to add comments on it to add context, which will show up in broker check. Broker check lists a person's employment history, LBAs, outside business activities, registrations held, and disciplinary history. Every FINRA member firm must send an annual notice to customers with the FINRA broker check hotline number and FINRA's website address. And I would always add the broker check website address too. Again, we're going random. A list of shareholders obtained by a broker-dealer in a fiduciary role. So like if we're hired to deliver proxies or help to an IPO, we may get a list of shareholders. We cannot use that to solicit new business unless the issuing firm gives you permission. But they're not going to. Upon the death of a child with an UTMA, a fiduciary account, state law determines how assets are distributed. So God forbid a child dies, before they get the money, UTMA or UGMA account, the state law determines how the assets are distributed unless the kid has it well. If the RR suspects an elderly client is suffering from dementia, they should consult compliance or supervisor and may suggest a family meeting. That's all why we do the trusted contact person. A specified adult is someone who's either 65 or older or 18 plus with a mental or physical impairment, making them unable to protect themselves. Remember that. That's the whole deal with this shit, is that a lot of these rules are because we think retail people are morons. Now, these people aren't. But again, we have to protect them. And then this is even worse because if they're mentally or physical impairment or older 65, the idea is that they can't protect themselves or defend themselves. So we need to protect for them. If a firm suspects financial exploitation of a specified adult, it can temporarily freeze funds or transactions for up to 15 business days. That hold can be extended by 10 and then another 30 business days under certain conditions, up to a total of 55 days total. Now, it used to be just withdrawals. Now you can suspend and hold transactions and everything. Firms must make reasonable effort to collect a trusted contact person, but lack of one does not stop a firm from opening or keeping an account. So if you try to get a trusted contact person and they don't get it, you try, you document it, and then move on. They can't do it. An RR may borrow or lend money to immediate family members with accounts at the same broker-dealer without principal approval. What's an immediate family member? Aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, adopted children. It's a pretty wide swath for immediate family. Again, you can lend and borrow from customers who are immediate family without permission ahead of time. Other times, you can do you can borrow and lend from like friends and business associates, whatever the fuck you want to say, or other things with permission from the firm. But you cannot just borrow and lend from customers if you don't have some sort of outside previous relationship with them. Now, what's not included in immediate family members? Great-grandparents or former in-laws. Customer mail may be only held up to 3 months without a reason. Anything over 3 months, it's indefinite, can be done with a valid reason. They won't ask you what a valid reason is. Convenience is not a valid reason to hold the mail beyond 3 months. In a soft dollar arrangement, getting a Wall Street Journal subscription or laptop is not acceptable. Acceptable soft dollar items include portfolio management software, research reports, convention tickets to a convention, but not to travel there. A non-durable power of attorney becomes invalid if the account owner is declared mentally incompetent. A durable power of attorney stays valid. In case you see this term, springing power of attorney means it goes into effect when they're declared mentally incompetent, not before. You do that if you think you're going to be in trouble as a customer. Maybe you think you're going to get mentally competent at some point. So you give like your kid springing power of attorney so they don't have access until you become mentally competent, and then they can control your assets. So non-durable ends at incapacitation. Durable goes through that, and springing starts at incapacitation. We're going to be all over the place. After an RR is terminated, FINRA maintains 2 years jurisdiction over them. Remember that. FINRA can't throw you in jail. It can fine, suspend, and bar you, but not imprison you. A foreign broker-dealer rep can visit U.S. clients if chaperoned by a U.S. broker-dealer rep. That's called an FAP. They can provide research, but cannot solicit orders. So any orders they get have to be proven to be not from that research. So FAPs, depending on state law, can visit U.S. clients if they're chaperoned by a broker-dealer. They can do research, but they cannot solicit orders from those U.S. clients. So any orders they get have to be considered not reliant on the research. MNPI, material non-public info, becomes public when it is widely disseminated by the media. An RR selling variable life insurance outside their firm must get written permission from the firm because it's do what they call doing a private securities transaction. If you do it without permission, it's selling away. With permission, it's a private securities transaction. An RR working outside the firm, like bartending, you must notify you do not need permission. Private securities transactions, selling away, require firm supervision. A RR who brings a customer to a sporting event with $500 tickets and attends with them is fine. If they give them the $500 tickets, it's no good. Buying a $175 jersey for the customer violates the FINRA gift limit. So don't buy them a jersey when you take them to the football game. Don't worry, go take them to a Jets game. They're fucking cheap. If an RR part owns a winery and gives a very expensive wine bottle to a client, I'll say it again. If I'm an RR and I own a partial owner of a winery, which I notified my firm of, and I gift a very expensive wine bottle to a client, even if it costs me nothing, the gift value is based on market price, not cost. So if I get the wine for cheap because I own the company and it's like a $300 bottle of wine, that's a problem. If it exceeds the $100 limit, it's a violation. Okay, again, random shit. A person living off portfolio income cannot contribute to an IRA. Now, some of the stuff I do has an organization to it. This is all various RR rules and shit like that. At some point, either in this video or the next one or the third one, I'll have like more IPO stuff and stick to that. But these are all just fun miscellaneous crap. So again, if you're a person living off portfolio income cannot contribute to an IRA. IRA contributions must come from earned income. Alimony is no longer considered earned. But yes, my ex-wife, and she'll disagree. I'm still married. I'm just a joke. A foreign finder outside the U.S. does not register with FINRA and is not an associated person. But they can refer non-U.S. clients to the brokerage firms for a fee because they're non-U.S. clients. If a registered rep wants to share in a client's account that must be proportional, and a firm approval. So if I have like 40 grand and you have 60, then I get 40%, you get 60%. ACATs. Now remember, ACAT is when they transfer assets from one firm to another. If I'm at JP Morgan, I want to move my shit to Goldman, I go to Goldman, fill out a TIF, transfer initiation form. The ACAT system kicks off. They send it over to the old firm, and then they have 1 day to validate and 3 days to deliver. So now we're going to talk about some of the things that the old firm can do to block it or not. First of all, electronic signatures are valid. That's the thing now. Pretty much electronic signatures are valid for everything. A non-compete clause with an RR who leaves the firm is not a valid reason to block a client account transfer. So you can't do it because they have a non-compete clause. After a client gives proper instructions, the executing broker, not the carrying broker, starts the ACAT transfer. Account transfers must be validated within 1 day, 1 business day, and completed within 3 business days after validation. Again, you're going to hear shit more than once. After joining a new firm, an RR can facilitate a bulk transfer of a variable annuity or mutual funds, only if the RR gets prior written consent from each customer. So you can do a bulk transfer all their shit. Now, a client can still transfer their account even if the RR is under investigation or has committed violations tied to the account. Understand that these things are specific that might show up. If there is a dispute with the former broker and the RR and request an ACAT transfer, the receiving company must delay or render a decision with the RR, accept it or deny it due to certain reasons. Okay, now let's say a new firm starts. FINRA typically reviews the new FINRA, meaning exams, within 6 months. If you're rejected, the firm can appeal to the FINRA National Judiciary Council within 25 days. A member firm must provide a copy of the FINRA manual to a customer upon request. It can be print or electronic, PDF, email, shit like that. One person can oversee multiple OSJs, but it's usually temporary and must be documented in the WSPs, which is written supervisory procedures. I haven't mentioned them yet. That's the document that we use to document all our procedures for compliance. Thunder. The principal responsible for an OSJ must be physically present to properly supervise. OSJs must have at least one principal, typically with a Series 24. Yay, that's why you're getting this. The principal overseeing an office is supervised by senior management. A firm's chief compliance officer supervises the sales activities of the managing partner or a director. These are all one-offs that could show up. If a broker-dealer moves a branch, it must notify FINRA within 30 days. Again, this is a mess, but just watch this a bunch of times. All written customer complaints must be kept at the OSJ. Supervising branches must be inspected annually, non-supervising every 3 years. Security accounts, like counting shit in the vault, must be conducted quarterly. The principal overseeing an office must actively manage the office, supervising registered reps and ensuring compliance with regs, including reviewing orders, account approval, and communications. The person supervising a producing branch manager must not report to that producing manager. That makes sense. So if I'm a producing manager, the person supervising my shit can't be someone that reports to me. A regional manager is typically allowed to supervise a branch office manager. A BOM, those are the 9-10 people. The Series 24 principal does not oversee options activities. That's the Series 4 registered options principal. Fin activities, FinUp, that's the financial operations stuff, net cap, shit like that. And muni stuff they cannot do. That's what the 53 is for, or the 10. An RR can function as a principal for up to 120 days before passing the principal exam, but they must have at least 18 months of experience within the last 5 years before acting as a principal. The firm's BCP, business continuity plan, must be available to FINRA staff upon request. Firms are not required to give customers the full BCP, but they must post a summary on their website. Now, what's the whole point of a BCP? That if shit hits the fan, a hurricane, 9/11, COVID, you have plans to keep your operations running. In the BCP, one of the 2 emergency contact people must be a registered principal. The other does not have to be. A firm's BCP must address communication with regulators, customers, and other broker-dealers. A single locations firm BCP must include the contact information for the clearing firm personnel, because if shit goes bad and the whole location's gone, we have to make sure that we can talk to the clearing firm. The chief compliance officer of the broker-dealer cannot delegate their responsibility. Some of the activities, yes, but the responsibilities, no. The CEO of the BD must certify every year that the firm has written supervisory procedures and compliance processes in place, and they approve them. The CEO must meet with the chief compliance officer every 12 months, calendar year, not fiscal year. A final compliance report must be submitted to the board of directors and the audit committee at the earlier of the next scheduled meeting or within 45 days of the certification. So again, every year the CCO and the CEO meet, they have coffee, they go over the policies. The coffee is not regulated. The CEO will certify that they have the procedures, and they have to give it to the board or the audit committee before the next meeting or within 45 days, whichever comes first. Now, if a rep under investigation resigns, the firm must continue the investigation and update the Form U5 if it's needed. Firms are required to supervise RR's charitable giving to check for potential conflicts of interest. Okay, so let's say a broker-dealer slaps shit in a bank. First of all, if they only work there for one day, it's considered an office of convenience and it's not a big deal. But the networking arrangement is if a broker-dealer is in the back of a bank. If the client opens an account, they must sign a disclosure document stating that they know investments are not bank obligations, that they're not covered by FDIC, and they're regulated by SIPC, but you may lose value. If a broker-dealer terminates an employee for cause, it must promptly notify bank affiliates or network partners. If a firm believes that securities law are violated, it must file a report within 5 days, promptly, of completing the internal investigation. Again, these are all things that could just pop up. Variable annuity sales must be approved within 7 business days. If securities are lost and not recovered after 2 days, firms must report the loss within 1 day. So if we do the count and we lose the securities and we don't get them after 2 days, we have 1 day to report the loss. Stolen securities must be reported to the FBI within 1 day, business day. A broker-dealer, let's go with this one. What's not an IA? A broker-dealer, an IAR, or an agent. All non-institutional customers opening a margin account must receive the margin risk disclosure doc at or prior to opening, and then every year with a bolded disclosure explaining the risks. Now, Reg SP, that customers can opt out of information sharing. That means Reg SP is super privacy, right? So I always say it that way. The Reg SP is super privacy. Keep your customer shit private. However, if we're going to share any information, we have to let them know, and they can opt out of it. You have to make it easy, like a button or an email or something where just click. It can't be like handwritten letter or something. Charitable contributions by a registered rep should not be based on the size of the customer's business. So we can't say, oh, we're going to give to charity, we're going to give to your daughter's charity because you give us 20 grand a month in business, and we're going to give less to someone who gives 5. I mean, people do it, but it's not. Say you want to open a new account. What do we need? Name, address, actual physical address, date of birth, and social security number. You have 30 days to verify the information. You have to re-verify every 36 months, 3 years. How do you verify the identity? Passport, military ID, driver's license, shit like that. A birth certificate does not count. Every time a new client comes in, you must check new accounts against OFAC to look for terrorists. Reg SP, firms must send initial privacy notices in every year and provide a way for customers to easily opt out. Margin rules, they're not going to go heavy on the test, but understand, rehypothecation, you can only do 140% of the debit balance to the bank. So again, you buy stock. You have say you have a $5,000 debit balance. We can take 7 grand of the stock you buy and send it to the bank to get to the loan. SMA, which is special memorandum account, that's excess equity. Your buying power is 2 times SMA. Under Reg T by the Federal Reserve Board, when you buy stocks, you have to put up 50% equity. That means you put down the cash or double the amount in stock. So if I have a $5,000 margin call for Reg T, I can either put down 5 grand in cash or deposit 10 grand in fully paid stock. Now, the FINRA requirements for margin are the minimum maintenance is $2,000 minimum. So if you buy 3 grand of marginable stock, you have to deposit 2 grand, even though 50% is 1,500. And you can't have equity lower than 25% on a long account, 30% on a short. Equities, margin applies to equities, ETFs, options, futures, and warrants. Now, the options one is a little different. It does apply. There's no Reg T where it deposits 50%, But if you're short it, there's requirements you have to put down. So option, margin applies to it, but you can't really buy them on margin unless they're long-term leaves. Debt has conventional margin accrual, margin only. They don't do portfolio margin. If a firm wants to do portfolio margin, they have to get approved by FINRA. The firm has to be approved by FINRA, and the customers must be approved for uncovered options and have certain money amount. I think it's $500,000. Warrants can be used as an offset under portfolio margin. So again, portfolio margin is you're reducing the amount you have to deposit because your portfolio is less risky. Rights cannot be used as offsets. If you have an ETF, so minimum maintenance on ETFs is based on the leverage factor. So if you have a 2x ETF, so normally minimum maintenance is 25%, right? We know that. So if you have a 2x, it's 2 times 25%. If it's 3x, it's 3 times 25%. So if you buy 3x leverage ETFs, your margin, your maintenance, your minimum maintenance is 75%, not 25. If you're short an ETF, then it's based on the 30%. So 30% on a short, 2x is 60%, 3x is 90%. Now, let's talk about pattern day traders. If you do 4 or more day trades in 5 business days, you're a pattern day trader. Some shit happens. Your minimum equity goes to 25 grand if you want to trade on margin. If you want to do and just day trade, but wait for it to clear every time, then you don't have to put the 25 grand. So if you do a day trade on Monday and then you wait till Thursday to do the next trade, then you don't need to do the 25 grand because then your money is cleared. If a customer executes 6 day trades over 3 days, that's classified as a pattern day trader because they broke through the 4+ in 5 days. Intraday buying power for day traders is 4 times the excess maintenance margin. The margin, all the margin rules we talked about are determined by the Federal Reserve. Minimum maintenance is determined by FINRA. That's a 25 or 30%. AML, anti-money laundering. A firm's AML officer does not have to be registered, but they have to fucking have one. And they usually have to have a secondary one too. A firm's AML written procedures do not have to be filed with a regulator, but they must be available. All firms' AML reports must be filed with the Department of Treasury. That's when you file reports that should happen. If a broker-dealer wires $3 grand or more, it must collect information on both the sender and the receiver, the pitcher and the catcher. If a client's name appears on the SDN, Special Designated Nationals, that's like the OFAC and FinCEN shit. If their name shows up on that after executing an order, the firm must cancel any open orders and block any further transactions in that account. The AML program must be approved in writing by senior management. The AML program must include annual independent testing. By the way, when they say, what about training for AML? It's ongoing and relevant, and senior management reviews it. Firms must file CTRs and SARs with the U.S., okay, even if the customer asks not to. So if you do a CTR, you're going to tell the customer, even if they say don't do it, you have to do it. SARs, you do not tell your customer. You just file it with the Treasury. That's when you have suspicious activity. Structuring, which is illegal. That's breaking transactions into smaller amounts to avoid reporting, like depositing $9 grand a day versus a $10,000 reporting. Remember, anything over 10 grand is a CTR, cash in or cash out, cash, not checks, okay? And that's going to be reportable every time.
Now, remember, a lot of this stuff is going to be random. That's a big thunderstorm. Okay, so a couple quick things before I go into Code of Arbitration and Code of Procedure. If you are in active military duty and you leave for active military duty, again, random shit, your registration does not lapse due to the leave. Your continuing education is paused, not waived. So when you come back, you have to, if you leave for more than, and your CE would have expired or gone by then, you don't have to worry about it. Again, military, if you come back, you just have to complete it within 90 days. A normal person who would expire because they're not at work has to complete it before they can start working. So if you're gone for a year and a half and your CE came up due, military duty, you start working, you have to get it done in 90 days. If you're a normal person, you have to get it done before you're registered. Again, back to the military duty. While you're in military duty, commissions are allowed. You can still get your permissions. You will not have a U5. They will not follow U5. You remain affiliated, but you are inactive. And you do not need to requalify. Remember, this is only for active military duty. If you disappear and you're not active, then none of this applies. This is only for active military duty. There's a whole act that does that. Okay. Now, back to arbitration. Okay. Now, code of arbitration. There's 3 levels. There's under 100 grand or less, which is going to be 1 arbitrator. Over 100 grand is going to be 3 arbitrators. I don't know if you can hear that thunder. Over 100 grand is 3 arbitrators. Under is 1 arbitrator. And they have a panel and you go through the whole stuff. If it's under 50, they have simplified arbitration. Under 50 grand or less, this way there's no hearing. You just mail your shit in and they make a decision. If there's an award for arbitration, must be paid within 30 days of the decision. Not appealable. Okay. Remember, non-appealable. Statute of limitations with the 6 years from the event. If you try to get an arbitration hearing after 6 years after the event, it won't happen unless there's some sort of waiver. Remember, public arbitrators are people who are not in the business, and they could have been, but they have to be gone for a bit. I think the rule is once you've been in the business for more than 20 years, you can never be a public arbitrator. Because arbitrators, there's public and industry. Industry means they work in the business. Public means they don't. Okay? In a dispute between member firms, these are firms that are like JP Morgan versus Goldman, and it's over 100 grand, you'll have 3 non-public arbitrators, which is industry. Public is non-industry. Non-public is industry. It's a flipping thing. So, member firm to member firm, it's over 100 grand, 3 non-publics. Under 100 grand, 1 non-public. Okay. In a customer dispute, if there's ever any kind of human being involved, it will always have 2 non-industry, more non-industry than industry. So if it's over 100 grand for a customer or a human being, it's going to be 2 public arbitrators and 1 non-public. Now, you cannot, remember this, you cannot force a person to go to arbitration unless they have signed a pre-dispute arbitration clause. But here's one thing that may pop up. It does not cap the amount may be awarded. All you can do is agree to it. You cannot be capped on how much you can sue for, in a way. The only documents and records you can use for arbitration must be included in the filing. And if you don't pay the arbitration fees or the whatever you have to pay awards within a certain time, your membership will be revoked or suspended. Now, remember, arbitration is for disputes. Code of procedures, COP, it's when something goes wrong, when a customer complains. So first thing happens, the Department of Enforcement has to approve that it's a complaint. Then it goes to the District Business Conduct Committee. My dog's going crazy because of the thunder. Must go to the District Business Conduct Committee. When they file it, the respondent has 25 days to respond. If they don't answer, then they have another 14 days extension. And then if they don't do that, it's a default hearing. There will be a pre-hearing conference held within 21 days of the respondent. So if I complain about you, I'm the complainant, you're the respondent. So if I file a complaint, you have 25 days to respond. But I will do, once you answer, we have to have a pre-hearing conference within 21 days of that. Now, if you decide that you don't want to dispute the allegations but get it over with, you can do what they call an AWC, accept, waive, and consent. It means you're accepting the problem, you're waiving any kind of court, and you're consenting to whatever we do to you, okay, whatever FINRA does to you. So an AWC, accept, waive, and consent, means I'm not disputing the allegations, kind of like pleading guilty without admitting it. Sanctions can't take effect sooner than 30 days. If you have a minor rule violation, that's $2,500. Anything more than that is a major, okay? Sanctions can't attack sooner than 30 days because this is the thing you can appeal. Remember, arbitration you can't appeal. Code of procedure you can. So you can appeal code of procedure. You have 25 days to appeal it. Now, any kind of disciplinary info from that will be on broker check. I guess anything under 15 grand won't show up. Any monetary under 15 grand won't show up. And any U4 amendment or U6 amendments have to be done within 30 days of the thing. Okay. Now, if you have a problem, it's called a DRP, a disclosure report. I don't know what the P stands for. It doesn't matter. You're going to do that on U4. You're allowed to have. So when you do the DRP for all your disclosures, electronic signatures. Okay. That's a theme now. Electronic signatures are okay. Okay. I think that's the end of part 1. Let's get it, baby. The next one would be all about trading and investment banking. We should be able to get it done in one. Hopefully this will be just part 1 of 2, and then I'll combine them for a big one. Thank you very much, and see you later, baby. Don't forget to check me out every Tuesday and Thursday night on YouTube live at 8 p.m. Eastern. Little shit show called the Q&A.